back. All right, I'd like to call to order the zoning administrator meeting for the date of Thursday, October 22nd, 2020, and it is 3 p.m. And I'd like to move on to the minutes, and we have the minutes from the zoning administrator meeting of October 8th, 2020, and I wasn't serving as a zoning administrator meeting for that meeting, but I did review the video for the meeting and also review the minutes, and so I'd like to receive and file those minutes. Moving on to oral communications. Members of the audience may address the zoning administrator on any item within the jurisdiction of the zoning administrator that is not on the zoning administrator agenda. Speakers can submit their comments on agenda items to the zoning administrator electronically, and typically this is recommended by 12 noon on the days of those meetings. The zoning administrator is not permitted to discuss or take action on items that do not appear on the agenda. I was made aware that we don't have any oral and written communications at the moment. And so moving on to the public hearing items. And for public hearing items, there is a time limitation for applicants to give a presentation of 10 minutes and all other speakers 3 minutes. So moving on to the first item for our public hearing agenda, 4A is 243 West Canada minor architectural permit 20-125 Johnston remodel, and this is a request to consider construction of a 549 square foot second story living space addition, 259 square foot second story deck, and a 450 square foot rooftop deck to a legal non-conforming single family residence. The site is located in the residential medium zoning district and coastal zone overlay and within the coastal exclusion order area. And the applicant on this item is David Carrillo, assistant planner. So David, would you like to give a presentation?
Yes, Gabriel, thank you. Good afternoon. So as mentioned, the project is located at 243 West Canada, and it's in the residential medium zoning district and coastal zone overlay district. And as Gabriel mentioned, it is in the coastal exclusion order area, which means that this project will not be subject to California Coastal Commission review. So a little background on the one-story home was constructed in 1950 with 1,190 square feet of living space and an attached 152 square foot carport. It is deemed non-conforming due to two sides of the home that encroach into the required 5-foot side yard setbacks, which includes the attached carport being built to the one of the side property lines. So again, the proposal is a second story 549 square foot addition, and that is to accommodate a new master bedroom and bathroom. And along with that, the applicant is also requesting or proposing 2 outdoor spaces. One of them would be a rooftop deck, 450 square feet above the second story addition. And then the second outdoor space would be a 259 square foot second floor deck towards the rear. So the addition and the new outdoor spaces, all 3 meet the required setbacks required today. So this type of proposal is subject to zoning administrator review and approval, and this is something that has to go before the zoning administrator whenever there's an expansion to a non-conforming home. an expansion to non-conforming home can occur when there's less than 50% of the gross floor area being added. So here the percentage expansion here is 46%, so therefore it would comply with that. So in staff's analysis, we did find that or recommend that the required findings be made, and here are some reasons. The additions are horizontal siding, 2-story heights, flat roof design to accommodate a rooftop deck and front setback are compatible with the existing residential neighborhood consisting of 1-, 2-, and 3-story single and multi-family homes with a mix of architectural styles. The residential use of the property will continue as intended by the residential medium zone. The project meets setback standards that provide buffers between adjacent properties, including the public right-of-way in character with setbacks of the residences in the neighborhood. The project also does not intensify the existing nonconformity and is not considered a major remodel as defined by the coastal land use plan. The second level addition over the existing 1-story residence adds vertical articulation to the front and side elevations by adding a front gable roof and a flat roof and a small shed roof, which all give varied heights. So again, the proposed project meets all residential medium zone development standards. And lastly, the project is subject to a building permit, and in that process, they are required to meet building code and Orange County Fire Authority regulations. So given staff's analysis, staff is recommending that the zoning administrator determine the project is categorically exempt from the requirements of CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15301, class 1, and adopt resolution ZA 20-026 approving minor architectural permits 20-125, subject to conditions of approval. And we have not received any public comments on this item, and we do have the applicant on the call, I believe, to answer any questions. And that concludes my presentation.
Great, thank you, David. And just wanted to see if the applicant would like to make any kind of presentation at all. You're not required to, but.
No, I don't have any other comments. I think David covered everything very well, and I don't have anything else to add, unless anyone has any questions.
Great, thank you, Mr. Maddox. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm trying to see if I have any comments. So what I'll do is open the public hearing, and David, you said there are no comments that you've received?
Yeah, that's correct, Gabriel.
Into the record. I haven't received any notification of any comments either, so there are no comments to read into the record. So I will close the public hearing, and so I'll go into some of the questions that I have on the staff report. And I noticed in the plans that were provided as attachments, and let me address specifically attachment 3, the plans. There is a plan for landscape. It looks like maybe like rehabilitation. Now, is that new landscaping that's proposed? Actually, I'm sorry. Give me a second. I might actually be looking at the wrong thing. I'm sorry, attachment 4. So there is some landscaping identified on the plan. Well, actually, no. Is that existing? Anything proposed here? Is there any reason we need to review landscaping for this kind of application?
Yeah, Gabriel, we do make sure that we review it against the landscaping requirements in the code. In this case, we do see there's on sheet 8 1.1, there's an existing site plan that's provided and a proposed site plan. So, and the part of the proposal is to remove paving. I think that's a note. Yeah, remove paving and replace with landscaping. And with that change, that does give them the required amount of landscaping that the code requires.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, David. And so I also have some questions about the exterior improvements. So, obviously with the addition, what you're going to see from the street is the addition of the second floor and also the rooftop deck above that. And so it looks like there's some siding that's proposed, and that's architecturally a little bit different than the exterior surface for the first floor. But when I went to the site, there's some stone. Is it some stone veneer at the base? And that's not reflected on this plan. So I'm wondering, is that stone base going to be removed? So David, I don't know if you know the answer to that, or maybe the applicant can speak to that.
Yes, I can answer that. The plan was to, the existing house is actually made of CMU block. It's not traditionally wood framed. So the plan was to, and the sides of the house actually are just unfinished CMU. The front of the house has a skim coat to make it look like stucco, and then the stone veneer below that. So the plan was to skim coat the entire lower floor and provide a new, like, smooth plaster finish.
Okay. Okay, great. Because I thought maybe the like the stone veneer at the base was going to be left, and that probably would be compatible with what you're doing on the second floor. And then can you describe maybe the approach that you took with the architecture in terms of proposing siding, and maybe why that isn't proposed for the first floor, or vice versa? Why not stucco on the second floor? And there may be some good reason for that, but I was curious to know.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason is that the homeowners would like to see siding on the second floor. And the main reason we're not showing it on the first floor is because it is CMU block. So you can't just nail the siding on. It's just difficult, if not impossible, to properly attach. If you did, you'd have to pre-drill holes and use concrete screws. And if you over-tighten them, it would crack the siding. So that's the reason we decided to just go with the skim coat on the ground floor.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for that. David, I have a question for you on the rooftop decks. So there's two, right? One right above the first floor and then one above the second floor. Now, on the side elevations, it shows that it's a glass guardrail. And would that be permitted for the rooftop decks in our code?
Yes, as far as height goes, it is in compliance, and material, I would say that the building division would make sure it meets the requirements. But I have seen glass railings being approved for rooftop decks.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for that. And then, I see with the new entry porch feature, there's kind of some of that siding provided there, so there's a good tie between the second floor and the first floor there. Okay. All right. So I did review the report and was able to review the findings and review the conditions of approval. And so based on what was mentioned in the report and the conditions, I can make those findings And some of the findings include that the architectural treatment of the project complies with the San Clemente General Plan and Coastal Land Use Plan. And so I think we can make those findings as described in the resolution. The other finding for the minor architectural permit is that the architectural treatment of the project complies with the zoning code in areas including but not limited to height, setback, and color. And I know, David, you talked about some of the height, and I understand the setback issues with the first floor in the home being non-conforming. So it looks like the second floor, is compliant with our code. And then also the architectural treatment of the project complies with architectural guidelines and the city's design guidelines. And the general appearance of the proposal is in keeping with the character in the neighborhood. And being able to drive out there, I was able to see that the design would be compatible. And we also can make the findings that the proposal is not detrimental to the orderly and harmonious development in the city for the reasons stated in the resolution. So based on those findings that were identified, as a zoning administrator can determine that the project is categorically exempt from the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15301, class 1 existing facilities. And also zoning administrator adopt the resolution zoning administrator 20-026 approving minor architectural permit 20-125 Johnston remodel subject to the attached conditions of approval. And so thank you, David, for the report, and thank you, applicant, for being able to answer some of my questions on this application.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the next public hearing item, which is 4B, 411 Avenida Victoria, tenant parcel map 20-158, Ryder Condominiums. It's a request to consider conversion of existing duplex into 2 separate condominiums in the residential medium zoning district. And the case planner on this is Kyle Weber. And Kyle Weber, community development technician. And so if you're able to provide a report, I would appreciate it, Kyle.
Okay, thank you, Gabe. Tentative parcel map project number 20-158 is a request to subdivide the airspace of an existing duplex into individual ownership. And this is at address 411 Avenida Victoria. The subject lot is approximately 4,100 square feet and is located within the residential medium zoning district and surrounded by other multifamily residential buildings and 1 single family residential building to the east of the project site. The site is also located in the coastal zone overlay. The project therefore requires the approval of Coastal Commission before a final tract map can be submitted to the city for review. Existing development on the site consists of a 3,000 square foot, 2-story duplex constructed in 1977. There are 2 historic resources located nearby the project site, 2 historic buildings. But due to the scope of the project, which does not propose any physical additions, potential negative effects to the historic structures is minimal to none. The project does propose to remove an existing unpermitted retaining wall located in the front yard setback. But other than that, no development is proposed. The applicant proposes to subdivide the duplex into 2 condominiums prior to occupying the unit. Maintenance and ownership of common areas required through condition of approval 2.6 will be shared by all owners or through an association. The project meets required findings for approval because no development is proposed. CC&Rs are required with the approval of the project under condition of approval number 2.6. And the existing building complies with the municipal code and the building health and safety codes. The project also complies with the city's land use plan, which requires subdivisions do not adversely impact community character, compatibility, or coastal resources. Condition of approval 2.4 requires the owner to obtain Coastal Commission approval prior to a final map. Based on the information provided, staff recommends the zoning administrator determine the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15315 minor land divisions and existing facilities, and recommends the adoption of resolution ZA 20-025 approving tentative parcel map subject to the conditions of approval. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Great, thank you, Kyle. Appreciate that. Okay. All right, thank you for your presentation, Kyle. And what I'd like to do first is open the public hearing and see if we've received any comments for this item. Kyle, are you aware of any comments that we received?
We have not received any comments from the public.
Okay, thank you. And I'm looking to see if there's any that I've received, and there are none that have been received to read into the record. So I will go ahead and close the public hearing. And I was able to review the report, and I do not have any major issues with the condominium map for this property. It looks like everything complies with our municipal code, and there are no issues in terms of inconsistency with the coastal land use plan, my understanding is, and I believe you made those findings in the resolution. And let's see. And then Kyle, did you mention if the applicant is the applicant interested in making a presentation or have any comments?
The applicant does not have any comments, and they do not have a presentation.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the presentation, and I was able to go to the site and be familiar with the location, and there are similar type buildings in the vicinity, and so there are no particular issues that I determined there. I also noticed in the development plans in attachment 3, they do have like a landscape plan, but that is not part of what we're reviewing here, is it?
That is not part of what we're reviewing. The landscape plans will be reviewed with the building permit.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. And so I did review the conditions of approval. And after reviewing the findings in the report, I think we can make those findings for the tentative parcel map. And those findings being that the site is physically suitable for the type of development. And this is a multi-family residential building, which can be subdivided into 2 condominium units. The site is physically suitable for the proposed density development. And the design of the condominium subdivision or the type of improvements is not likely to cause serious public health problems. And the other finding is the condominium subdivision with its provisions for any design improvements is consistent with the general plan and coastal land use plan. And I know, Kyle, you outlined that in the resolution. And the last finding that the design of the condominium subdivision or type of improvements will not conflict with easements required by the public at large for access through the use of the property with the proposed subdivision. And I noticed there was a condition by Public Works that does prohibit the applicant from recording any easements between the approval of the condominium map and when the final map's recorded. So, so based on the findings and everything that were outlined in the report, as a zoning administrator, can determine that the project is categorically exempt from the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15315, class 15 minor land divisions, and 15301 point K, class 1 existing facilities, and adopt resolution zoning administrator 20-025 approving tentative parcel map 2020 110 Ryder condominium conversion subject to the conditions of approval. And so thank you, Kyle, for the presentation. And that is the end of our public hearing items. And so moving on to item 5, new business. There are no items. Moving on to item 6, old business. There are no items under no old business. So moving on to item 7, which would be an adjournment. And I'd like to adjourn this meeting to the regular meeting of the zoning administrator, which will be held on Thursday, November 19th, 2020 at 3 p.m., which will be held via teleconference. Great, thank you.